What's up guys, welcome to my channel, and in this video I'm trying to assemble my moped engine. This is Puch 50cc and this has actually 4-speed gearbox. I have this Finnish moped Tunturi Pappa that has these different style of Puch engines. There is automatic, 2-speed, 3-speed, 4-speed, hand gear versions, you name it. And last summer I drove my moped over 2,000 kilometers during the summer, and before the season ended my engine blew up, and the reason was this piston pin bearing. It was exploded. There are all the parts that I found from the crankcase, and it actually destroyed the piston. It destroyed the cylinder. There is cracks in the walls. Luckily it didn't break the housing, even you can see some marks in here. The crankshaft seemed to be okay, but I don't want to use it in this engine anymore because I want to take a little more power out of this 50cc engine. This one was actually 3-speed V750K3X, and few years ago I made it 4-speed and actually all that it needed was this drum. Here you can see this is the 4-speed drum and this is the 4-speed one. So this groove ends here, but in 4-speed it comes all the way here. So there was actually 4 different gears, but the 4th gear wasn't in use. But this one needs new crankshaft, new cylinder, new piston. So it's several hundreds euros because I don't want to buy the cheapest one. So the plan is to make another engine for this summer. And this is actually VZ50N4, so this is originally 4-speed. I bought it from my friend and it has been in a bucket like 20 years. It hasn't been running a while, but the plan is to make it run again. I dismantled this today and I cleaned everything and took out the old bearings and seals and stuff. But I'm going to use the old crankshaft from that in here because I'm not gonna take power out of this engine, so I think this is gonna hold just fine. I just need to buy a new cylinder because this is rusted, and new gaskets and bearings and seals, because I was planning to put this engine to different frame. I have like 2 frames there, so there should be enough parts to make one whole moped. So at one point the engine is going to that frame. So it is like a win-win situation because I get an engine for my moped with less money, like quicker, and I can drive this engine and see if that everything is okay before I put it to the next frame. And it gives me more time to buy some parts for the original engine. So this is like a cheaper build just to make my moped run, and this is like more power version. But before I can get more power, or I know what power it makes, I need to make the dyno. So that is coming along also this spring. But I just need to check everything so I have time to order the parts, because in Finland there's this like a holiday in spring, Vappu, and usually it's like For many people it's like the start of the summer, so there's lots of parades and stuff where people take their old cars and old mopeds to drive around because it's like starting of the season. So that is my goal, to make it run before that. And it is like 1 month away, so but I think I have time. There's not too many parts, and they are easily available. I finally got the parts, new gaskets and bearings, and the engine is now assembled. After every part was cleaned, I installed some new bearings. Then I installed new shaft seals, just gently hammered them in. And on the clutch side, the seal is pretty deep, but you have to be careful that you don't press it too deep, because there is this passage for the oil that needs to be free. I shimmed the main bearings because these are like 3-piece bearings, so you have to shim the tolerance to the specs. And I made this puller for this job because it is hard to otherwise take out the inner sleeve of the bearing. Put some seams, put the cases together and measure it. And you have to measure it with the gasket. And I put it like 0.05 millimeters. After that, I started assembling the gearbox. First I put the bigger gears, then the smaller gears, then the gear levers, and then the gear shifter itself. You have to wiggle them a little bit to make everything fit. And I found it easier if you take the pin off of the shifter levers, and after everything is assembled, then put the pin down to its place in the housing. It is good to rotate them to see if they are working properly. After the crankcase and the gearbox, I put the other side of the engine covers on. And at this point you need to be very careful, because there's these separate bearings inside, so they might fall or they might misline a little bit, so the shaft won't go in the bearing. If it feels that it doesn't want to go, it is usually better to take it out and see what is wrong. Don't use force, because you might break something. And after the two pieces are bolted together, make sure everything turns and the shifter and the gears works, because it is nicer to take it apart at this time than after the whole engine is back together. There is actually second bearing in the clutch side in the crankshaft. I installed that and then installed the gears. Then I assembled the clutch. I cleaned the clutch discs before I installed them, but I used the old ones. When you install the clutch cover, you need to make sure that the clutch lever is in the right position, otherwise the clutch won't work at all. I usually test this before I screw all the bolts, and after I can see that it works, then I install the gasket and screw all the bolts in. I bought new cylinder for this engine, but even it is new, you usually have to sand these edges a little bit, because they are pretty sharp and can destroy your piston rings pretty fast. So I just took sandpaper and just rounded every corner. I also cleaned the exhaust ports with drill, because the casting wasn't that great. Now it feels much more smooth. You also need to check the piston ring cap. Just install the ring inside the cylinder with the piston and measure it. If it's too small, take it out and file it down, but file it just a little bit at a time, because it doesn't need that much grinding. Take it small amount at the time. I filed the cap to 0.3 millimeters. Then it's time to install the piston, install the rings and lubricate everything before the installation, and then carefully install the cylinder and see that the piston rings are in the correct orientation. I also adjusted the ignition when the engine was On the table I adjusted the breaker points to 0.4 millimeters. When adjusting the ignition timing, I usually find the top dead center of the piston and then add 2 millimeters to that measurement. Rotate the engine clockwise so it is 2 millimeters before top dead center and make a mark. Then take very thin paper and turn the engine back and forward, but immediately when they start to open up you can easily pull the paper, and that is the point where your ignition timing is. And now it's time to put the engine into the moped. I just pulled the moped inside, and now is the time to put the engine in and then assemble all the last pieces. The moped is running again. The last video you saw, the clutch didn't loose at all. I tried to adjust it, but it didn't have any change, so I knew that there's something wrong inside the engine. So I took out the clutch cover and I found the guilty. One washer was missing in this engine, and I took similar from another engine. It was 2 millimeter and that was too much, so the clutch outer and inner parts, they were compressed together with the nut. So I put 1.5 millimeter washer and everything works just fine. So the details are important. But yeah, the moped is working now. I haven't adjusted much, so it's not running very good. It is not revving that high, and I think I need to adjust the fuel mixture a little bit, and I'm gonna adjust the timing and see if it gives me better results. But I think I have to break the engine in, so I'm just gonna leave it like this and drive it a little bit, and next I'm gonna build the engine dyno. So I'm trying to tune the moped in the dyno a little bit better. Luckily I got it running before Vappu, so me and my wife we are gonna drive our mopeds there. It's like a old vehicle parade every year, starting event for the summer, so it is quite important event. I just hope that the weather is a little bit more warmer. It is still pretty chilly. I see you on the next one. Bye.